project for this afternoon is to put these in their proper places. These are some plants I bought online, and this is a hydrangea which is quite healthy, and it's going to be a white one which is going to look something like that. Well, I hope it comes out like that. Anyway, it's been soaking for a couple of hours, so the roots are well watered, and what I've got to do now is just put it into a larger pot. I'm going to mix up some compost, some fertilizer, and give it a good feed so that it will stay healthy and come into bloom. The other plants I bought were these ones. I bought 4 ferns and 3 giant hyssops, which are called Blue Fortune. Now they will flower from June to October, and they have these wonderful soft blue flowers, a bit like lavender actually. So let's unpack them and have a look. So as you can see, the 3 hyssops are quite small at the moment, but obviously they're going to grow and they're going to be in the full sun, so they're going to get a good start. And these 4 ferns, these are going to be planted in the shade to add a bit more interest to the shady areas under the trees. Now these containers that these plants came in from the RHS are really useful. You can use them like mini greenhouses almost, because look, they've got a lid and they're clear all the way around, which is absolutely fantastic for growing seeds or even small little plug plants. Just fill them up with soil and make some holes in the lid, and there you go. You have a wonderful little propagator for seedlings and other small plants that you want to get started. So that's a great way to recycle your packaging. And of course, any other packaging like cardboard or paper, if it can be recycled or composted, then you can put that on your compost heap or put it in the recycling. So nothing is actually going to the landfill. Now this is the pot I'm going to use for the hydrangea, and in it I've got a mixture of potting soil, some compost, multi-purpose compost with added John Innes, and I've also added in some perlite just to make it a bit more airy. Otherwise when you water it, this will all become a bit too waterlogged and a bit too compact, so the roots of the hydrangea might go a little bit soggy. We don't want soggy bottoms. So I've added in the perlite there, as you can see, and there's also manure in there, so this will give a rich fertilizer. I want to give this hydrangea a really good start, so it becomes healthy and look as pretty as I want it to. This is the pot that I'm going to plant the hydrangea in. I've already filled it with some potting compost and with some manure and some perlite, just to give it a bit of air. Otherwise the soil will become too dense and heavy, and the plant will become waterlogged, and we don't want waterlogged roots, and that's when they will rot. So the soil comes up to about there, which is the right height for the hydrangea, and I'm just going to pull this out gently. As you can see, the roots are really well watered, so they should stand a good chance of surviving. I'm just going to open these up a little bit. Because it's been in that pot for quite a while, as you can see, and it's a bit pot bound. So we just want to open up the roots, get some air in, and to give them a good strong start. So Now I'm just going to put in more compost. Now, in addition to the compost, I have in this bucket, in here, I've got some coffee grounds. I do drink a lot of coffee and I've been saving it up for a few weeks, and there's quite a lot of coffee grounds in there which will make fantastic nutrient-rich fertiliser. So I'm just going to take a handful and sprinkle it just along the top. And this is a great use of your coffee grinds as well. Instead of throwing them away, either put them on the compost, or they make absolutely fantastic fertiliser for your plants. I'm just going to spread that along the top. I'm not going to make it compact or anything, so that's just perfect. And then what I'm going to do now is just give this a good watering. As today is such a lovely sunny day, well, it's a bit windy actually, as you can probably hear, and the shade and the clouds keep going in and out, so there's but it's a lovely warm day. Now this is going to be best in full sun, and I'm going to put it against this wall because this gets the sun all day long, and it's a sheltered position as well, so it won't get too blown about by the wind. So there it is, there's the hydrangea in its sunny position, and when it gets too big for this pot I will plant it out into the ground, and that will also go in a sunny position, but for now this is a really good spot as it will fill up this space quite nicely. If you're wondering what's going to happen to these plants that I showed you earlier, I'm going to put them into a plate of water so they get a good soaking and the roots are well watered, and when they've had enough and they can't take any more, I'll then plant them out into the ground in their final positions. I'm just beginning to prepare the ground for the ferns underneath this very large Photinia here. Not quite sure which species it is. It might be a Taiwanese Photinia. There are some red leaves, but not enough to call it a red robin, I don't think. But if you know what species it is, let me know. So this is where the ferns are going to go, under here. The soil here is always damp because obviously there's no sunlight, but it is a bright area, there's lots of daylight. And as I was digging, I found this plant, these leaves. Now I'm not sure what that is. If you've got any ideas what that might be, do let me know, because I thought it was actually strawberry. It looked like a strawberry leaf to me, so it tells you what I know. But I don't think it is anyway. But if you know what that is, just drop a line underneath and let me know. And then I'll carry on preparing this area here. As you can see, I did plant one fern about 2 years ago, and it has survived, which is quite good. I'm very pleased about that. I just wish it would grow a bit bigger. And I'm going to leave all the leaves that are here on the ground, because these do create a very good mulch and they keep the weeds down as well. And I think that's one of the reasons why the soil here is always damp as well. It keeps the moisture in. There is in fact a little red robin that lives in this tree. And he's very cute. He's picking up all the little grubs that I've unearthed when I dug up the soil. Just to give you a quick update on what's going on around the garden, the pear tree is now in bloom. As you can see, it looks really lovely in the sun. And this is April now, we're in mid-April. So in about another month's time, the blooms will fall off and we'll get the start of some tiny pears. And then by the end of August, we'll get some really delicious sweet pears. This is a hybrid tree. It produces two kinds of pears. One is a French pear and the other is conference pears. So that's quite good. And I've hung some LED fairy lights which just charge up in the sun and they come on automatically at night. And it does look quite nice actually. So here's the shady border. This rose bush does produce roses occasionally. It's been here for quite a few years, but I don't know if it's a climber or a rambler. I did try putting these wire cables on the fence to try and train it across to cover up some of the fence, but it wasn't happy, didn't like it. The leaves started to fall off and it produced no flowers. So not quite sure what to do with that. Again, if you've got any ideas on how best to produce more flowers on it and make it so it's more happy, that would be wonderful. I'd love to hear from you. That was the corner I dug, which you can see in one of my previous videos. So I made all that. There was a palm there, but we had such a cold bitter winter it's actually died, so I cut it down and now I've got to just take out the stump. And over here we've got another rose bush which is doing very nicely, and hopefully that will flower soon. These are the daffodils that came up. I've cut the heads off, but I'm leaving the leaves in so that all the energy from the sun will go to the bulbs and they'll flower again next year. That's another rose bush. This area here gets full sun all day long, so what I'm going to do is eventually make a flower bed here and put some plants in the ground.